Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
And I'm Giacomo.
And this is our 91st episode. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Welcome back. Happy fall. We are in the full throes of fall now, which is far and away the best season. And I have quite the list of things I want to have accomplished in the fall.
And I am really enjoying the scenery outside because this is the time of the year where it's arguably the most beautiful. The leaves are changing. You can smell fall in the air. It's not too cold. It's not too warm. It's just like that nice, crisp weather.
We have that for like a whopping 6 weeks or so in New England, and then it's just freezing and miserable. So we really enjoy it while it's happening. We have done apple picking. We have gone up to, what's it called? How did I forget the name of it? The donut place.
Lovebirds.
Lovebirds. We have gone up to Lovebirds Donuts in Maine to get apple cider donuts. And by we, I mean me and the kids, not Giacomo, because he is on prep and not eating donuts. What else have we done? We've gone leaf peeping. We've watched more scary stories than anything because Daisy is she's a total weirdo and she's absolutely obsessed with spooky movies to the point I have to keep telling her, no, you can't watch that. That's too scary. I cannot be responsible for giving you nightmares. So she's definitely one of us.
Well, you and I get to have some fun too. Not the kind of ideal fun that we usually have during the fall together. There are some things that are more appropriate for me on prep that just don't put me in an unsafe position energy-wise or stress me out. Like going to the movies, for example. We're going to see The Woman King this weekend. Super psyched about that one.
We also got tons of flower bulbs planted for next spring. We decorated our whole front yard. It's not our best decorations ever, but it was not much better than last year. We're getting the feel for the new front yard. It's just such a shame because it's not the kind of street people just drive by to look at decorations. It's like kind of a through street, so people whip down the road. And also we don't get trick-or-treaters, which is such a huge bummer.
My brain is going to like maybe doing some sort of chalk outline or something in the middle of the street, considering that we're near a highway and it's something to catch people's attention. Well, I want to catch people's attention. That's the whole point of decorating, right? Is to make sure that they see what you're doing and add a little bit of spookiness and fear. That's what Halloween's all about, right? Fun with fear.
Mm-hmm. We're also gearing up to go to Plant Built. We're leaving in like 5 days or something to head down to Atlantic City for the Plant Built team to compete, which is going to be crazy. And I'm not even competing. I'm just overseeing the process, and I'm like super nervous about the whole thing. There's just so many moving parts. I was thinking about it, like, this is why we didn't have a wedding, like a big wedding, is because the thought of organizing such a huge event with moving parts is really, really stressful to me. And this is like that on crack.
Well, for me personally, I honestly thrive in these kinds of scenarios. Growing up, my family was all about big celebrations and planning them decades in advance, honestly. Even like, it's almost like, can I have a kid just so that I can have big celebrations with them? Like, that's the kind of family I come from. They would legit like pop one out just so they could have parties for that kid. And
Yikes.
So I know, but that's whatever. That's the way my family is. And so like I have that. I've been enjoying doing a lot of this. Yes, it's overwhelming and it's a lot. But I trust the moving parts. Just like you, I am nervous, but I also trust that we have done enough work that it's just going to flow.
Well, Giacomo is also competing at the event. So not only did he put together the event and is overseeing the vast majority of the event, but he is also competing himself at that show. So that is really super duper impressive.
Well, that is a whole different beast. Like a couple days ago, I had a bit of a nervous breakdown in the morning because it's just doing the same thing over and over and over again as you're depleting can be really challenging. I was going on one of my early morning walks and I'm like, I got to turn around. I can't do this. You know, I need a break. I can go full throttle, and even when I need a break, I don't take it. And that was like, red flag. Okay, have your little meltdown, if you will, before this thing. rest for 2 days and you'll be all right. Everything will flow. And thankfully I came home and Danny was like just crazy supportive. And now I feel great. You know, sometimes you just need to let it out for a minute or two.
No prep is complete without at least one meltdown.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. You're officially prepped this year.
Thank you. And now it's the final depletion where it's like just one day too many all over again. And basically where you're just like eating so much less than you usually do, and you're usually not eating much on prep. And after Sunday, then it's time to throw some carbs into my system.
And by some, he means like 700 or 800 grams on some days, which is bananas.
Well, and the first 2 shows I did, I went out there looking flat.
Yeah, you did.
And I said it was okay because I wanted a stage experience. But like, you know, I'm human. I have emotions. It's a little bit deflating.
No pun intended.
Mm-hmm. Because you want to go out there looking your best. You want to go out there looking full. And this is the first time I'm actually going to be doing just that. And honestly, it messed with my psychology a little bit. So as much as it helped being on stage, it also kind of challenged me going out there flat. I am thoroughly looking forward to going out there nice and full, locked and loaded. And Danny's been working on posing with me, which has just been so helpful because I'm at a new level of leanness and I am not overly familiar with my body awareness wise, or how to pose it, and she can see me and move me around in a way that, okay, I'll look my most flattering at this level of leanness.
Yeah, because it does change. You know, a lot of things change when your body grows or shrinks. There's a lot of things that you actually have to do differently that people don't really talk about. You know, some of the downsides of getting lean, like your leverages change in all your lifts. So the lifts themselves, like squats or bench press, everything feels different. Sitting down for long periods of time, your butt hurts because there's like no more padding on it, basically.
Hey, you want to hear something crazy? I attribute this to like having a hard time sitting upright because I'm so tired. So between having a hard time sitting upright because I'm so tired and because I am so lean, I am leaning my elbow on the stone countertop at the breakfast bar in our kitchen. And I just from leaning my elbow for like 10-15 minutes on the countertop, it actually got bruised. It's been bruised for like 3 days. Like that's how fragile you can become physically because you are prepping. That's like the nature of being that painfully lean.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But we're actually not talking about that today. We're not talking about bodybuilding at all. What we are talking about today is actually new vegans and people who just decide to go vegan or plant-based, and the mistakes that a lot of people make when they're brand new vegans and they just don't know. And a lot of the mistakes, you know, we made also. Part of this is in honor of, in 2 days of recording this, it is my 20-year vegan anniversary.
What day is it?
October 1st.
How come? What's the significance behind that day? Was it just the day that you made the switch? How did I not know that?
I don't know. How did you not know that?
I don't know.
But yep, 20 years. 20 years on Saturday. Crazy. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about, you know, sometimes we don't talk about veganism that much on this podcast, and it's because I've been vegan for 20 years and because Giacomo's been vegan for like, what, 18 years?
Something like that.
You know, you're not far behind me, that it is just almost so normal to us at this point that it's barely even interesting to talk about. But it is interesting to talk about, and it's still really important to talk about, and people are going vegan at a faster rate now than ever before. But there are struggles some people have when they go vegan. Now, it's kind of funny to me because 20 years ago, there was like literally like nothing fun to eat at all. And I'm sure somewhere Jeff Palmer, who's been vegan for like 40 years, is laughing at me. But, you know, what can we do to help give people some tips when they first go vegan, to help them avoid some of the pitfalls that turn people into ex-vegans?
Well, why don't we start with what we do best, which is talking about food. And it's the obvious pink elephant in the room.
It's not the same.
It's not?
No.
What's a pink elephant?
It's just the elephant in the room.
Oh, but I want it to
pink
be pink.
Elephants are on parade in Dumbo.
Yeah, exactly. So I want it to, whatever. The elephant in the room.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I think when someone makes any sort of dietary shift, because I don't like making things about veganism because then it just seems like going vegan is to blame. any dietary shift. So say you go to start training, you're going to eat differently with an athlete's mindset and for performance and recovery. Anything, like anything at all, whenever you make a dietary shift, there's confusion. And going vegan is not the exception to the rule. So I think the first thing that comes to mind when someone goes vegan is like, crap, I'm going to be eating fruits and vegetables now? And like, what else? Like, where's my protein? And okay, so like, what else other than fruits and vegetables? And I think that's the simplest way to put it when it comes to confusion on how you try to completely change the way you eat, essentially, as opposed to veganizing the way that you eat.
Yeah, well, for some people, that's part of the allure, right? For some people, they want to completely flip upside down the way they eat. That's part of the reason that they're going plant-based in the first place, is to eat entirely differently. But, you and I have seen this backfire on people more times than we can count. They don't just decide to stop eating animal products. They also decide at the same time to stop eating oil and any added sugars at all, and gluten and soy, and they're just going to be raw, and they're only going to eat whole foods. And, they can probably do it for a short period of time, but that's really overwhelming for a lot of people. And there are other pitfalls within this that I'm going to talk about next, but they usually can't sustain it for very long. And they say, well, guess veganism didn't work for me. I'm done. Rather than thinking about the foods that they already love, that they already enjoy on a regular basis, and trying to make vegan versions of those foods.
Which, in my opinion, is something that is not boring, because you wind up spending more time being creative and making different things, crafting meals that you would normally just have as is, that come from an animal or an animal byproduct. You wind up making it on your own. Like, you make your own vegan meat. I mean, you could even make your own vegan cheese, although it's typically more store-bought. But my point is that you wind up becoming experimental in the kitchen and getting super creative, because you're crafting things from scratch with plants. So in my opinion, yes, it's a little technical and a little complicated because you're doing it for the first time, but it can also be a lot of fun.
But you also don't even have to anymore, right? Like I'm thinking back 20 years ago when I went vegan, I was already vegetarian, but I was like a cheese addict. Loved cheese. Like so many people say, I could never give up cheese until I did. But I remember I was like, I want mac and cheese. And I found this vegan recipe for mac and cheese, and it tasted pretty much nothing like mac and cheese, but I still tried it. And tried all of these other recipes of things that I had previously enjoyed. And some of them were hits and some of them were misses. But now, 20 years later, I swear to God, you can find a vegan version of anything that you like that is pretty damn close to what you remember. Now, are these health foods? No, not usually. Usually they are not health foods. But a lot of times they are healthier than what they're replacing, simply for the fact that they don't have cholesterol. Like that in and of itself usually kind of ticks it up the pole a little bit in terms of health. But, when you're going vegan, when you're making any change, you want it to stick. That's the point. You're not trying to make a change for a short period of time. You're trying to make a change that sticks long term. And some of these foods out there, like a frozen Daiya cheesecake, might be the thing that keeps you vegan when you're having a craving for cheesecake. And, when you get through that and you realize like, oh, look, I was able to stay vegan through that. And, I scratched my cheesecake craving itch, and now I'm moving on, and my next meal will be, a healthy Buddha bowl or something, but you're still on it, rather than, feeling like you have to go out and have, dairy cheesecake, and you can't do this because what are you going to do when this happens again? It's going to happen again. Like, the options exist now. Utilize them. You're not a lesser vegan for utilizing more processed, packaged vegan foods. I've said it a million times before, the animals don't give a crap why you go vegan. They just want you to stop eating them. So I know there's this whole part of the vegan community that's all holier than thou and high and mighty, and if you eat something that comes in a box, then you suck and you're a bad representation of veganism. Screw those people. Those are the people that become ex-vegans, okay? Enjoy the foods that exist. They exist for a reason. They help millions of people transition to plant-based all the time. It's going to make your transition easier, so don't be afraid to use them.
Yeah, there's access to so many different foods these days, and honestly, it's carried over into the supply chain for restaurants, right? With the birth of companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods, and they're getting their meat in fast food joints and upscale restaurants and everything in between. And it's not inconceivable that even if you live in a remote area with not many vegan friendly or vegan restaurants, that you still have an option, right? That all said, sometimes it can be challenging going out to eat and trying to find the things that you normally look for when you go out to eat. And so you just wind up feeling like, oh, okay, well, there's nothing around me and I can't go out to eat and this kind of sucks. So to that I say, broaden your horizons, right? When I grew up, what I would typically do is at home, I would eat Mediterranean style. I'd have my pasta and chicken parm or whatever, and that's that, like a typical Italian fare. What do you think I ate when I went out? We would go out to Italian restaurants. Boring. Now I went vegan, and rather than thinking like, well, this is what I eat when I eat out, and now I'm vegan, so I can't eat out anymore. And it was like that for a while, honestly. Eventually, I realized there's so many different kinds of vegan-friendly fare, like Indian food or Ethiopian food, for example, or different kinds of Mediterranean food, like Lebanese food is pretty vegan-friendly. So you wind up broadening your horizons, expanding your palate, and getting to try all kinds of different foods as opposed to thinking of it as an elimination-style transition.
Have you guys heard of the Vegan Cruise? If not, we want to tell you about it because we are so excited to be presenters on the 2023 cruise, and we would love to see you guys there. So the Vegan Cruise is exactly what it sounds like and so much more. It's a cruise from March 17th to March 24th that leaves from Miami and will be visiting Belize, Honduras, Costa Maya, and the Bahamas on the beautiful MSC Divinia. It is so cool to wake up in a new country every day of the trip, seriously. But as if that wasn't enough, one of the biggest drawbacks of most cruises is that there's nothing vegan to eat. I had a client actually go on a cruise recently, and she said she was shocked at how little she could eat, and for that price, it just was not worth it for her. But that's not a problem on this cruise because all 3 meals are fully catered, vegan, and made by gourmet chefs. You will never be hungry. There are also get-togethers like ice cream socials and pizza parties out by the pool. Very fun. And to top all of that off, the cruise is absolutely loaded with some of the biggest leaders in the vegan movement giving lectures, presentations, and classes. Folks like Dr. Greger, Dr. Barnard, Dr. Clapper, Robert Cheek, Juliana Hever, and so many more, and of course, us. We will be hosting exercise classes and giving presentations on plant-based fitness. And of course, we would very much love to spend time with any of our listeners who come out. So if you're interested, click the link in the show notes to book your spot because it always sells out. And mention vegan proteins when you book and you'll get a $50 onboarding credit at the vegan bookstore. We look forward to vacationing with you guys. Okay, so here is my number one mistake that I see people make when they go vegan. The absolute number one mistake. What do you think it is, Giacomo?
The number one, is it the protein?
No.
I don't know.
Not eating enough. The number one mistake people make when they go vegan, and the number one reason that I think people stop being vegan is because they are not eating enough. They're used to a dinner of like, I don't know, steak and potatoes and vegetables, and then they take the steak off the plate and they don't really replace it with anything else except more vegetables and fruits. And, you know, maybe previously to going vegan, they were eating 2,500 calories a day. Now they went vegan and are suddenly eating 1,400 calories a day, and they can't figure out why 2 weeks in they feel like crap. And it's not because they're eating plants. It's because they are not eating nearly enough, not nearly what they were eating before. But it's very easy to just say, well, a vegan diet didn't work for me. So I think it's really important, one, to have a rough idea how much you eat. Like there are arguments that can be made for and against tracking your food, and they're all valid. But if you have no idea what you're taking in, and then you decide you're gonna go plant-based, how could you possibly know if you're taking in enough? Because fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds and grains, they are high fiber, high water foods. They're very voluminous. They're very filling temporarily, but they are not very calorie dense, meaning they do not give you a lot of energy. So you're going to be hungrier faster and just lower energy more quickly. So you need to replace some of these high density foods you were eating before, like steak or eggs or something, with something else that's high density now, like tofu or avocado or something. You know, you can't just subsist on raw fruits and vegetables. You're gonna fail. You are absolutely gonna fail and feel like crap and think it was the vegetables' fault and just say, oh, I just needed protein. And then I just went and ate some protein and I just felt so much better. And it's like, who stopped you from eating protein that was plant-based? Who stopped you from doing that? Nobody. You did. You just didn't decide. You didn't take the time to learn what actually had some protein in it that was plant-based and try adding more of that.
Yeah, or you could wind up filling your plate with so much voluminous food that your digestion doesn't feel quite right. Or you could wind up going the other direction and wanting to fill in the blank for the missing calories and just getting like too many, like trail mix or a half a jar of peanut butter because you're actually hungry. Then you're saying to yourself, oh, like I'm missing some things. And look at the way I'm eating. This is unhealthy. And I'm not getting what I need in anyway. And then you just throw in the towel and you blame the lifestyle change and the dietary change when, like to Danny's point, in reality, it's all a matter of making sure you still balance your food out on your plate the way that it should be.
Yeah, you have to take inventory. You have to know how much you're eating because a lot of times people will say they think they're missing a nutrient. They say they're like 2 weeks in and they're like, oh, I must have had a vitamin deficiency or something. Like, no, 2 weeks, a month, that's not long enough to develop really any vitamin deficiency or anything like that. But it absolutely is long enough to feel like crap from not eating enough. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend making sure that you're still getting in the same number of calories you were getting in before going vegan.
For sure. What about something non-food related, like you're now in it, right? The transition's been made, you've gone vegan, and you are feeling a bit preachy, or you're feeling a little bit judgy of the world, and now you are faced with societal challenges and familial challenges with conversations that you are unfamiliar with how to navigate. That is the kind of experience that you do not want because it's going to discourage you. It's going to hurt you as far as like your conviction for doing this thing. And it's stressful. Like you don't want to have those conversations, but you leave yourself open and vulnerable to them because you're just so excited about making this change that those are the conversations that you just wind up engaging in.
Oh, you're going to have those conversations. When you make that lifestyle change to vegan, you're going to have a lot of conversations about it, whether you want to or not. So it's a good idea to have some kind of a strategy going into these. This was a huge mistake that I made. I was pissed when I went vegan. When the wool was pulled back from my eyes and I saw what was really going on, I was livid and I wanted everybody to know. I needed everybody to know what was going on with the dairy and egg industry and all the horrible reasons we should not be supporting them at all. And if anybody so much as looked at my food funny, I was going to tell them everything right at the dinner table. I was a firecracker, guys. And you know how many minds that changed? None. Absolutely none. And it mostly stuck me right in that angry vegan stereotype box, which, I'm not mad about because even now, 20 years later, like, yeah, there is every reason to be angry. There is every reason to be upset. And there's every reason to want to scream it from the mountaintops. Like, what are you thinking, everyone? However, in practice, this doesn't actually work. No one wants to be told what to do, and people are only ready to hear what they're ready to hear and ready to take in what they're ready to take in. And I've found it to be much more effective to, answer questions as they come up, honestly, but not deliberately graphically, and just kind of try to live by example. That has gotten more people to go vegan than anything else I've ever done, is just living a happy, healthy example of what somebody on a vegan diet for 20 years can be like. So it's tough, though, because people want to push your buttons, and you're so heated about this new information that you've just learned, and you're heartbroken about it, and people want to make fun of something that you feel very passionately about. It is very hard to not get your feathers ruffled about it.
Right. And I think the important thing to remember is a type of person like that, sometimes they're curious and looking to poke holes, or they're looking to justify what they're continuing to do. Other times, you're just dealing with someone that likes to get a rise out of people.
Right.
So just be aware of that, because to you it's personal, and do your best to meet that person where they're at, or play into their narrative, wherever it is they're coming at you from. And sometimes you can pick up on it, and sometimes you can't. But if you stay in the conversation long enough, you can get some good information out there for that other person who, even though they're judging the ever-loving crap out of you, you can do more listening and be more non-judgmental and be informative, because there's your opening, right? They may or may not be attacking you, but regardless, you don't defend and you don't attack, and you just calmly answer questions and give them information, and then seeds have been planted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just don't expect other people to change. I remember being so heartbroken by that back in the day. I would think, oh, if my best friend just saw the movie Earthlings, you can't unsee that. Of course they're going to make a change once they see this or that or the other. And, with their consent, I would show it to them. They'd watch it. They'd be heartbroken and devastated, like any person with a soul is when they see something like that. And then they would make no change whatsoever. And I was devastated. Now, I was 16, 17 years old, but I was devastated at the time, because I could not believe anybody could see these things and know these things were happening and not do anything about it. And some of those people, 10 years later did make changes, but some of them didn't. And there's nothing you can do about that. Just keep doing you, keep fighting the good fight. More people are coming to terms with the reality of the situation every day, faster than ever before. So I know that it feels lonely sometimes, but, times are changing at like breakneck speed.
Well, I do want to add a bit more to this part of our conversation, and I feel like it's important. I think you can move too far in a direction where you become so passive and so standoffish and only leading by example that you wind up missing the opportunity to be inspirational, and you miss the opportunity to convey the emotions on how you truly feel about going vegan. And so sometimes you're just passionate in the moment and you're angry, or you have something to say, or you're in the mood to get into some sort of healthy or even sometimes unhealthy debate. Like every once in a while, even if it's a trigger and it can hurt you a little bit, if it's for the greater good and you're feeling it, sometimes those conversations wind up being the best ones, where they strike a chord with somebody. I mean, it may be hit or miss, but the thing is that there are all kinds of approaches. There is no one right approach. Like sometimes you can go to one of those booths where they're like, I'll pay you $1 if you watch this thing, and somebody will watch it like an Earthlings and change overnight. Other times it'll have zero impact on that person. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you can run a protest in front of a KFC, and you'll piss people right the hell off, and they'll wind up eating they'll order double chicken.
Yeah.
Other times it'll be like, man, what was that person so angry about? And then they'll start getting curious and make a change. Sometimes you're leading by example, and someone's like, damn, this person wants to give me information and genuinely curious in what I have to say and what I'm thinking about, what I'm questioning about. And other times they'll be like, wow, this person is just like too scared and too skittish to even have a conversation with me. Thanks for nothing. So you never really know how you can impact somebody. I don't want to recommend like to be, again, leading by example so much and being so passive that you lose your opportunity to approach this from different angles and you just silence yourself.
Well, I don't think leading by example is necessarily passive.
True, but
I get what you're saying, though.
yeah. Anyway.
What else you got?
Me? Well, we haven't really talked about family and how complicated it be to navigate family scenarios when you're a new vegan, right? Here's what I think when it comes to family. Food is a important part of like not just culture, but also where you come from, like, you know, mom's spaghetti, so to speak. It's called mom's spaghetti for a reason because your mom made it, right? Like regardless of the meme or whatever, or Eminem's rap song, when your mom makes something or your grandma makes something or like your dad whips up something, whatever, it's very personal and they've probably been like preparing it for you since you were a child, you know, and extended family comes in. The thing is that food is very personal when it comes to family. So when you make a change, your family's going to bite back and be like, yo, like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you eating what we normally serve? You know, and that can be really challenging because it's very hard to not be defensive. It's very hard to also feel included. So I think that's a very complicated space and it's challenging to navigate. So like sometimes you can give pushback and be like, what are you eating the way that you're eating? And that you're not going to win anyone over that way. Other times you don't know what to do. So like you just, I don't know, boycott a holiday or maybe like try to bring something that no one else is going to enjoy and it's really just meant for you. You know, there are all kinds of different ways to navigate family dynamics in a more healthful way. When it comes to the holidays, there are plenty of delicious things that you can make. Like Danny whipped up a whole book on holiday recipes, for example, that you can find on Vegan Proteins.
Plug.
Especially with the holidays coming up. It's like you get roasts in there and all desserts and baked goods, all kinds of stuff.
It's a more macro-friendly holiday cookbook. So it's not like if you're trying to impress the masses of your family with rich, delicious holiday meals, this ain't the cookbook for you. But if you're just trying to make holiday foods for yourself and your immediate family and you want it to be healthier and macro-friendly, then the cookbook is great for you.
Okay, so let's throw him some bones. Maybe Isha Chandra Moskowitz?
That woman can do no wrong. She has never made a bad recipe. I have never made a recipe from her that was anything short of awesome. Isa Chandra Moskowitz. Every book she's ever made, 100%. And I believe she does have a holiday cookbook. And it's super fun. It's not just like Christmas and Thanksgiving. She's also Jewish. There's lots of Jewish holidays in there. But there's stuff like Oscar party recipes. Like it's really bizarre and awesome.
So find yourself some fun recipes to make as opposed to being like, well, no one else eats like me, so I'm just going to make something for myself and try not to be miserable or just enjoy with conviction because this is what I do. And the conversations, as far as they go, you know, realize like Danny said, people are not going to change. And a lot of these choices when it comes to food are very personal when it comes to family. So, you know.
But I also find like the vegan stereotype is, you know, the single vegan sitting at the dinner table telling everybody else they have murder on their plate. And I actually find it to often be you're the only vegan at a giant table of non-vegans who are literally giving you the third degree about what you are and aren't eating and why. And it is so uncomfortable. I know the joke is like, how do you know if someone's vegan? Don't worry, they'll tell you. I've actually found it to be much more close. Like, how do you know if someone's vegan? Don't worry, they'll quietly try to eat their dinner while everybody interrogates them about their ethics. And it's awful. It's an awful experience, especially when you don't, I mean, at this point in my life, I don't want to do that. I'm not interested in talking about animal agriculture while I'm sitting down to Christmas dinner with people. I just want to enjoy these human beings around me. It's almost like talking politics or religion at a holiday. It's like a no. It's just a no. But everybody, well, most people know to not talk about politics at the holidays. But, you know, this kind of falls into that same camp of something people feel very strongly about. And it's a very personal belief. So just leave it alone at the holidays. But people will come for you. Try to stay calm. Try to stay reserved. Try to change the subject if you can. And like Giacomo said, bring delicious food. Bring delicious food. You don't even have to say, oh, this is vegan. Just bring delicious food. And, you know, if your family is interested in continuing to make stuff for you, if they make you something that is vegan, you eat it. I don't care what diet you're on, you eat it. That's activism, damn it. I don't even care if it's good. If it's vegan and they made it for you, you eat it.
You're killing me.
It's true. I can't tell you how many vegan things somebody made for me that were just horrible, just awful. But they went out of their way to make it for me. And it didn't matter if I was even getting ready for a show, I would find a way to make it work because it's that important to me to support other people taking any hint of an interest in veganism. So maybe not everybody agrees with that, but I will plant my flag right there.
I agree with that. I also think that when it's like the third, fourth, or fifth time making it, as your opportunity to like make something with them, if it's like that horrible, you can encourage them to be like, hey, let's make this thing together. Or, hey, I got some tips for you since you're interested in food and cooking and whatnot. And
I'm just kidding. Most of the stuff wasn't horrible, like, oh, it tasted bad. It was just be like, oh, I went to the store and I got you this crazy hummus plate. Like, look at this hummus plate that I got for you, as though I had never seen a hummus plate before as a vegan. But I don't care. Like, they went out of their way to make sure there was food for me. And I appreciate that. I never expect that, but I appreciate it when it happens so much.
Totally. I got one more thing to add to this conversation.
Sure.
I think it's a pretty big one, honestly. Trying to be the perfect vegan and worrying about how you can avoid anything that's non-vegan. Like literally splitting hairs over everything. If there's one minuscule ingredient in something that's questionable, like may contain milk, in reality, most chocolate is labeled like that for liability as a specific example.
Right.
And it's actually vegan. It's just processed on a shared equipment. That's one example. So maybe something has honey in it. Like it's not like you're going out of your way to pour yourself half a cup of honey every day. However, every once in a while, something has honey in it. For example, like you fear the vegan police, you fear not being compassionate enough, you fear not making all the right choices. I liken where my head is at, like my thought process here to Kelly Colabella, or maybe Sasha Perry. One of them was like, you don't live on the rock, you're not a hermit, right? It's about doing less harm.
Right. That's the thing. And you have to ask yourself, like, who is this helping? Mm-hmm. And partially I get it, right? Because I've thought about this a lot in 20 years, believe it or not. You know, if I ordered a veggie burger, no cheese, no mayo, and it came out with cheese and mayo, what would probably be the most helpful thing to do, like for the animals or whatever, would be to just eat it. However, I can't do it. I can't just peel the cheese off of something. I have to be like, hey, can I have this differently? You know, I hope somebody in the back gets to eat it. If I can give it, if I order something and it comes out wrong and it's at my house, I'm not going to throw it in the trash. I'm going to give it to somebody that I know that's actually going to eat it. Because throwing something in the trash is actually kind of the worst possible option. So I think it's a fine line, right? Like, even if me eating the vegan burger with cheese on it would technically do less harm than just throwing it in the trash, I know that I still can't do that. But if I find out something was made on shared equipment, it's to me to send it back and be that person that's like, oh, this touched that thing, so please send it back, bring me a new thing. To me, in a restaurant, that just makes restaurants say, oh my God, vegans are such pains in the asses. Why do we even bother having vegan stuff on the menu? I don't want to deal with these people anymore. Take it off the menu, you know? So I think it's a fine line. I think you have to determine what you are and are not willing to do, like, for yourself, I guess. But you're right. There is no perfect vegan. There's nothing. Do you drive a car? There's animal products in the tires. Like, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? There's nothing you could do about it. If you ever taken a medication, ever in your life, it's been tested on animals. If there's a medication in the United States, for example, it has been tested on animals, whether you like it or not. Like, you know, when you have the choice get the products that have not been tested on animals. When you have the choice, make the absolute best decisions that you can make. But it's not, if you see another vegan who's using, I don't know, a deodorant that that company tests on animals, don't be the person that jumps down their throat. Because I guarantee you there's something that you're doing that's not perfect. And they might be doing that thing totally vegan and you're not. Like, who does this help? What is the least possible harm you can do? What sends the strongest messages to corporations that you want more vegan, not tested on animals products out there? Write letters to companies, do things. The dollar speaks louder than anything else. Where you put your money matters most. So, unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. I wish it worked differently, but that's how it works.
Well, there's also this fear about what you're wearing, and you're going to be judged if you have something that's leather or wool or whatever. And you don't know where that person got that from. Maybe they got that from a secondhand store or used store, whatever you want to call it. Maybe it was a hand-me-down. Like, I got my grandfather's turncoat. I'll be damned if I ain't going to wear that thing. It reminds me of him. I love it. It's beautiful. It's 100% wool. But, that's my grandfather's coat. What good would it do throwing it in the trash because I didn't want to wear it?
Well, see, I have the same. My grandfather had a bomber jacket from when he was in the reserves, and I have the bomber jacket, and it's leather, and I'm going to keep it, but I'm not going to wear it. I'm not going to wear it out in public because of exactly what you just said. People don't know where I got it. I don't want to give the impression that it's normal for people to walk around wearing animals, because I don't think that's normal. But this was an important thing to my grandfather. He gave it to me specifically. I'm still going to keep it, but I have no reason to wear it.
And this is where you have to go with your comfort level, right? It's not everything has to be about activism or about, doing the thing that makes the most sense environmentally. It may make the most sense to reuse something environmentally speaking, but if it makes you that uncomfortable to wear it, don't do it.
Yeah. When I first went vegan, if I had stuff that had wool or any kind of animal product in it, I just wore that thing till it fell apart. I just wore it till I literally couldn't wear it anymore. And when I replaced it with a vegan version of something. But, for a lot of people, when they first go vegan, because of all these things we're talking about, they go through their closet, they get all their leather shoes and belts and wool jackets and this and that, and they get rid of them immediately, go buy a whole bunch of new vegan stuff, which is usually based in plastic. Let's be real, pleather is just plastic leather, which is, not great for the environment. There are better alternatives coming out all the time, and there's obviously things that aren't pleather, but just taking all of that stuff and throwing it in the trash is the worst thing you could do. And even taking all of that stuff and donating it, 85% of clothing that's donated just gets thrown away. So it's literally saying, here, you throw this away for me. So, I like to use stuff until it cannot be used anymore. Anyway, I don't know if that's necessarily a pitfall. Well, I do think the pitfall is trying to be the perfect vegan. I've done it. You've done it. We have done silly things since Jack and when I met. There are a few things we've done that are just silly in the name of veganism, that looking back, it's actually that didn't really make a ton of sense, did it? It was vegan, but it didn't make a ton of sense. It didn't really help anybody. Obviously, every opportunity that we can make the 100% vegan choice, we do that. But, there sometimes I need to take Tylenol, okay? So there you have it.
Hey listeners, we hope you've been enjoying this episode, and we appreciate your love of all things vegan fitness. For those of you who want even more support on your vegan fitness journey, check out our Muscles by Brussels community and become a member. By joining the team, you are one of our exclusive VIPs. As a member, you'll find over 200 macro-friendly, high-protein recipes that can meet any of your meal planning needs. You'll also receive training programs that update monthly. This training has progressive overload built into it, so you can be sure if you're following the program, you are making progress. All of this and more is located inside our Vegan Proteins members-only app. As a Muscles by Brussels member, You'll unlock bonus courses, challenges, and more every month. You'll also be invited to our live Zoom video calls, which happen 2 times a month, and are absolute gold to those who show up. And if you can't make the calls, don't worry. You have the opportunity to email us whenever you want. You'll receive a video response to all of your questions from one of the coaches here at Vegan Proteins every time you message us. Members also receive 40% off many of our other services. And of course, our private community of like-minded individuals is like no other. Best of all, you can try this membership out for a full month at no cost to you with this special offer for our listeners only, because we appreciate and want to fully support you. Use the link in our show notes to sign up for your free trial today. We hope to see you on our next live coaching call.
Okay, my next one is actually a very simple, quick one, a pitfall of not supplementing. Supplement. There are going to be a lot of people out there that say you don't need to supplement with vitamin B12 as long as you eat nutritional yeast, or no vitamin D if you eat mushrooms. It's not true. Take the dang supplements. I would tell anybody, vegan or not, to supplement with vitamin B12 especially. And for most people, I would say supplementing with vitamin D is a pretty smart thing to do as well. But I do know a lot of vegans who, in their purest mindset, decide that they're not going to supplement. And, they'll be vegan for a year, 18 months, 2 years, and be like, I'm fine. Look, I don't even supplement and I'm fine. But the way vitamin B12 works is you can have it stored in your body for 3 to 7 years before you start to develop a deficiency. And a vitamin B12 deficiency can wreck you. It can cause irreversible brain damage. Just take the supplement. Just take the supplement. They're super cheap. They're so easy to take. They usually just stick them under your tongue. They taste like a piece of candy. Just take it. Just take it. That's all I'm going to say.
Make sure that B12 is methyl-based, not cyanocobalamin-based.
Yeah, methylcobalamin's better.
It's more absorbable.
But honestly, I don't care which one you take. Just take them. Deva is a great brand. DEVA. Deva is a great brand. They make super affordable vegan vitamins. You can find them on Amazon. They're great. Let's see. Okay, I'll just do one more. So my last kind of pitfall, and I do have more. I could go on about this forever. So if you guys ever want a part 2 of this, let me know. But another pitfall is just being confused, because there's a lot of different people out there giving you a lot of different advice on the quote unquote best way to be vegan. And I understand the irony of me saying this to you over a podcast where I'm giving you advice on some of the best ways to be vegan. But, listen to a lot of sources, learn a lot of stuff, but do not just believe everything you hear. The more crazy and glamorous something sounds, the more likely it is to be untrue. The more likely it is to just be some fad version of a vegan diet that is just, it's exclusive to this tiny little club of people that do it for a short period of time, who have tons of money and live these really bizarre lifestyles that most people don't live. And it's not going to work for the vast majority of people. Or eventually, people in that group are going to start getting sick. Does anybody else remember the 30 bananas a day movement? I know you do, Giacomo. Those people got sick, they gained weight, they had weird hormone problems, but it was a huge movement for a while. Make sure that the sources that you're looking at make the most sense. I really like nutritionfacts.org, Dr. Michael Greger. No, it's not perfect. No, I don't agree with absolutely everything that's there. But I think that on the whole, it makes more sense for the average person. The stuff, obviously I agree with the stuff that we are saying here, but if you want to see something from, a doctor with sources cited, there are lots of doctors talking about veganism. Dr. Colin Campbell talks about veganism in the confines of cancer. and causing cancer and reversing cancer. If that's something that's of concern to you, go check out Colin Campbell. Dr. Esselstyn talks about veganism in the parameters of heart disease and reversing heart disease. If that's important to you, go look at what Dr. Esselstyn's doing. We talk about veganism in the construct of fitness and physique change and living a long, active lifestyle and liking the way you look. If that's what's of interest to you, hey, we're your guys. I like Michael Greger's site, Dr. Michael Greger site, because it is more generalized. And like I said, there's some stuff on there that I wholeheartedly disagree with, like him saying salt is bad for you. Like, I don't even know where to begin there. But there's still a lot of stuff in there that I think is pretty sound and a good place to start. But if you're hearing somebody say, like, never eat X, never eat Y, never eat this, you have to eat only whole tropical fruits. I swear to God, when I went vegan, there was a guy named David Wolf. I will never forget this shit. I'll leave you with this story. We were at a bookstore in Seattle, Washington, and David Wolf happened to be giving a talk there. We were not there to see David Wolf, but he was giving a talk, and I swear to God, in a room full of hundreds of people, he told this people he was going to give them his special secret. And he told them his special secret was to always take your supplements under a waxing moon. I swear to God, and these navel gazers with their jaws in their lap just nodding up and down, I was horrified. I was like 22 years old, still old enough to know that was some of the scariest crap I've ever seen in my life, was the people dumping their money out to this guy. There are snake oil salesmen in the vegan movement. Keep your eyes peeled for them. There's plenty of them. They look different now than they looked 20 years ago, but they're still there. So make sure you find sound sources.
Moving on to our question and answer segment for today.
Jackman was like, shut up, Danny. That's enough.
No, because I could easily go down this rabbit hole with you and we could just be ranty for the next 20 minutes, which I'm fine with. I do want to pivot, though, to our questions here so we can get some questions answered from our listeners. This one is for you, Danny. I'm relatively new to working out at a gym, so I hope this isn't a silly question. Is it normal to be in a lot of pain after workouts? I know muscle soreness is to be expected, but I find if I do a leg day, for example, I quite literally find it difficult to walk for the rest of that day and the couple of days follow. Can't bend my legs to go downstairs or walk up them. Am I doing something wrong? Is this normal?
Great question. So it is normal to be sore after workouts. It is not normal to be so sore that you can't walk up or down the stairs or sit on the toilet. Now, we've all done it. Like, every single one of us has pushed it to that point where the next day you're like, oh man, and you realize you pushed it too far. But if you are feeling that, you pushed it too hard. So especially, it sounds like this person is new to training, you have to ease your way into it, or you're going to feel like that every time you train for weeks and probably not really be that excited to train, and you might not keep it up. So, really, really ease yourself into it. Start with one set of everything in your workout. If that feels okay, the next time you train it, do 2. The next time you train it, do 3, or whatever the whole thing is. But just, you have to test the waters. Now, if you're more used to training, right? Like you're comfortable training, pretty much every time you change up your training routine, you're going to be sore. Like more sore than you normally are for the first several days, at least maybe a week of the new training program. It's really more that your body is just not used to it yet, so you feel really sore. If, however, you always feel sore after you train, that's not actually a good thing. So I know a lot of people want to feel sore after their workout because they feel like they lifted. But anything more than like a pretty mild soreness past a couple weeks, that's not normal. That means you're not recovering enough. So some people push until they're always sore, but that means they're never fully recovered. That is a bad thing. So don't chase the soreness. Yes, it's normal if it happens sometimes. No, it's not normal if you can't walk down the stairs, you pushed it too hard. But in general, once you're acclimated to a workout program, You should be mildly sore at best, and some days maybe not sore at all. And that is normal, and that's a sign that you're recovering, and that's a sign that you're going to be making progress. Okay, our next question is from Anthony. I have been cutting/losing weight. I'm at a point now where I want to bulk up. Last December, I went into a bulking phase to try to gain muscle mass, and I must have overdone it and not used good proportions as I got more belly fat than muscle. I'm 5'10", 159 pounds. Here are the questions. When I do a calorie surplus, what is a good percentage over my maintenance calorie intake? And question 2, does that scale up as my body weight goes up?
The very first thing I recommend doing after being in a cut is to get out of the cut by increasing your calories by 15% and running that for 3 weeks. Give your body a chance to upregulate and systems to recover, and give your metabolic processes a chance to start firing off properly again. Then you can gauge what your body looks like. You feel a little more comfortable, right? Because after a cut, you get a little addicted to that light feeling and you equate it with leanness, when in reality, you're just depleted, right? And you have to fill out. Your body's like what, 80+% water? Like you need water. You need more water, and you need more water and more glycogen, and your muscles need a pump, and that fullness can be a little triggering, even if like you're fully committed to the bulk. So give yourself a chance to like get comfortable with the body feeling of eating more, meaning like you're holding more water, you're holding more glycogen, and yes, putting on a little bit of body fat with muscle eventually. You won't right away when you only up your calories by 15%, which is why after you do it for like say 3 to 5 weeks tops, then you start bumping up your calories anywhere from, I would recommend like 50 to 200 calories at a time. But every time you do a bump, especially when it's on the higher end, like closer to 200 than closer to 50, give yourself like a solid 4 to 6 weeks to see how your body responds, because weight creeps up over time, and you want to make sure that you're comfortable with your rate of gain. You can comfortably gain anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5% of your body weight in weight a month. That's the comfortable rate of gain for your body to be putting on mass. Not necessarily that it's the majority of the mass is going to be muscle, but you're not just going to be gaining an excessive amount of body fat. You should not be afraid to put on body fat. Putting on body fat is critical to a proper bulk, because it is going to put your body in a position where it has enough padding and enough resources to perform and recover really well. It's going to change your leverages so that your biomechanics improve. Remember, mass moves mass, and you're just going to be feeling better in general. And the better you feel, the stronger you're going to become. So yeah, in short, to answer your questions succinctly, just to recap here and reiterate, 15% bump in calories immediately after 3 weeks of that, anywhere from 50 to 200 calorie bumps every, say, 4 to 8 weeks, and pay attention to your rate of gain. You're looking at 0.5 to 1.5% of your body weight, and obviously that number will change as you gain weight. And finally, per month.
Yeah,
Thank
per
you.
month, not
Yes.
per week.
Sorry, misspoke there. Per month. And then finally, you also want to be mindful of where your comfort level is. I honestly recommend that, and I dare you to get a little bit outside of an athletic body fat range. I think most thrive when they're slightly outside of an athletic body fat range, which, if I'm quantifying it, for men it's what, 10 to 15%. For women it's 17 to 20%. So if you can get a little outside of that range and maybe like hover around 17% body fat, if you're a male, if you're a female, like 22, 23% body fat, you're really going to thrive. There are genetic outliers that thrive at lower body fat percentages, but for a true bulker, that's where I think you should be. All right, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. Feel free to shoot us an email by hitting the contact button at veganproteins.com. We will always answer you back. You'll likely even get a video response from us, no matter what the question is. Keep up with us on our socials at Muscles by Brussels, at Vegan Proteins on Instagram, on Facebook. We got community. We got the Muscles by Brussels community on Facebook. And then, of course, our YouTube channel, Vegan Proteins. Once again, my name is Giacomo.
And I'm Danny.
And we'll talk to you soon.